Welcome to the FlipTech East Coast podcast, a podcast specifically designed to introduce you to our teacher presenters that are presenting at this year's conference. This year's conference is being hosted by Collingswood High School on June 29th and 30th. And in today's podcast, we'll be talking with Andrew Swan. He is a session speaker, and the title of his talk is Flipping for Mastery in the Humanities. If you're interested in learning more about Andrew and his presentation, visit fliptech.fliplearning.org for more information. Or if you're interested in coming to FlipTech East Coast 2018, please visit fliptech.fliplearning.org to register. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of FlipTech East Coast Podcast, a podcast designed to introduce you to the teacher presenters at FlipTech East Coast on June 29th and 30th. And with us today is Andrew Swan, who's presenting on Flipping for Mastery in the Humanities. So, Andrew, how are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. Pretty good. How are you doing, David?
Yeah, I'm hanging in pretty well. So, in interest of full disclosure for, I guess, our audience out there, I do want to tell everybody that I do know you fairly well professionally through Twitter. We participate in a couple of chats, and we kind of organized some Slack chats through the FLN and the flip blogs and things like that. So, but I've never actually been able to talk to you word of mouth here, whatever this digitally, live.
Right.
It's always been through Twitter or something or Slack. So it's good to finally actually talk to you.
Yeah, you too. It's a bit more efficient as well, I suppose.
Right.
Sorts out the tone issue and everything else that you
right.
online.
Yeah, that's always the issue. The tone. Is he being sarcastic or is he really upset? Right. So, for the audience out there who may or may not know you from your from Twitter or from the digital media sphere, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? How long have you been flipping? What do you do? All this good stuff.
Yeah, sure. So I teach 8th grade social studies in a suburban in Newton, Massachusetts. I've been at the same middle school for 14 years. Yeah, it's my 14th year. Wow. 6 of those years have been doing social studies. And 5, and this is the 5th one of me flipping. Before that, I was a ELA teacher, also 8th grade. So sort of a split.
Does that mean you're dual certified? Is that something? Or in Massachusetts, is it a K-8 certification? Or
yeah, no, I'm middle. I think I'm middle school certified. So like 5th through 9th. For first, and I'm dual certified right now for social studies and ELA. But I was more of like a history major, so. To me, like kind of history and English aren't really all that different. It's just the characters are real. Right. But there are a lot of crossovers. Right. Like Atticus Finch is not real. Like it's a wonderful book, To Kill a Mockingbird, but he's not real. George Washington's real.
Right. Is he as interesting as Atticus Finch?
Yes, in many, many more ways. Yes, has a much more interesting sort of arc of humanity. Yeah, you could get me talking on Washington for like way too long, but that's probably not what you want this podcast to be all about.
well, it's part of it. So I guess the question is, have you ever presented at a conference before? Like, is this new to you, or you kind of made the rounds through the presenting realm here?
There's no way I'm as experienced as a lot of the names I'm seeing on the list here. It's pretty amazing. Like list is like weird to be a part of. So my content partner and I started flipping together. So there are 2 of us. Me, 8th grade social studies, and then I have half the 8th grade. My partner Jean has the other half. So we've been flipping together from the beginning, and the 2 of us we've done some in-house. We did one for the other history teachers in our district. We've done a few. The New England League of Middle Schools, NELMS, has a conference in Providence, Rhode Island, and we've presented. We're about to be there in April, so that will have happened before.
Okay,
so work some things out. So that'll be our 3rd time, and that's always been well received. We've done a few other. We did another NELMS one last week. So yeah, we've done like different kinds. Like we did like a 2-day workshop trying to get some teachers into things, and we've done the little one-off, like 1 hour thing.
It must be nice to have somebody else that you flip with in your building.
It is, yeah. I know not everyone's that fortunate, but we're still the only ones in a pretty large district. So our evangelizing has not. Totally caught on yet, but there's still a lot of interest and respect.
Matt Moore told me once that you can't be a prophet in your own backyard. So however much we love flipping and we want people to do it here, it's in our own buildings, it's hard to evangelize that.
No, that's a good phrase. I'm gonna steal that.
Yeah, you should.
I've stolen so much from Matt already, so why not take
Right, right. So you've been around. So what, in terms of the flipping stuff? So what motivated you to put in a proposal for FlipTech? Like, what's the scoop about that?
Well, first, it was just going to be great just having a flip conference in our backyard. I know there used to be the other conferences, the national ones that sort of wound down, and they were always pretty far away. So, I mean, I probably would have come down anyway, just to hang out again with you and like all the other names that seem to be going around. So, yeah, again, it's just, I guess, since I can't evangelize, as you say, in my own backyard, why not take it interstate and and try to spread things? But also, I'm just really interested to find out what other people have to say about things. And again, you seem to have a really great variety of folks, but I don't see a whole lot of social studies and English teacher folks. This seems to be largely like a math science thing, or at least widely. So I want to sort of help find out with other folks who are doing even more with it.
Yeah, I think in terms of the spread, there's like specifically like 4 science is the big one, and then there's actually 3 people doing like foreign language. Then there's an ELA. Excellent. There's a couple of social studies. There's a couple of people doing just middle school stuff, which can apply, I think. And then, of course, the most popular category is like the all applies to everybody sort of general presentation. So, yeah, so I think we'll hit everybody, I hope. But what's your presentation gonna entail here? Because you're middle school social studies with some ELA background. So what do you got going on here?
Yeah. So what, one thing we've gone for from the beginning, one thing that's always been the appeal is the mastery piece, is using flipping in ways that I haven't been able to do with the in-class lecture. You try to get everyone or the textbook. Oh my gosh, history textbooks can be the worst, the absolute worst. And again, thinking back, like knowing what I know now, like I would teach English so differently than I used to. So trying to bring that angle to things and share some things that my partner and I have done and that I'm doing now, and find out about other things that we can do. So, and the mastery piece is because this may be a controversial like notion for history, but I think there are some things that students really need to know. Yes, some memorization does need to happen. There's some facts you need to know before you can get into something deeper, like why the Electoral College is or isn't an effective system for electing president, for example. There are some things you need to know about the presidency and what an elector is and so forth. So that's what we do is really, what I'm really trying to do here is, before you can get to those big discussions or do the really cool projects, I've had the student make a poster about the Treaty of Paris. It's this gorgeous thing with all the glitter glue and all this thing, and it's the wrong Treaty of Paris.
Oh no!
There were 2 treaties of Paris. This is supposed to be the one that ended the French and Indian War, and she did this one about the Treaty of Paris that ends the American Revolutionary War.
Right.
And now my students don't do those projects outside of the class, or at least the vast majority, if not all of it, is done in the classroom, and where I know they know which Treaty of Paris they're supposed to be talking about. Sure,
and that speaks to really what the kind of the fundamentals of what flipping is that you want to be there when you can help them the most.
Exactly.
And just to dissect your title a little bit, it says Flipping for Mastery in the Humanities. And so are you talking about flipped mastery, or are you talking about just attaining mastery and maybe address the differences between those two, if in your mind there are differences?
No, I think there are differences, and I'm not up on all of the most current research about I know there's the whole flipping 3.0 and so forth. But to me, mastery, so there are kind of 2 levels to it. The way that I've been approaching it. So there's the flipping for mastery of, again, those very basic skills, like research skills would be something that I would present in a flipped lesson, and also just the informational piece. So here are the main events leading, or certain main events leading up to the revolution, or the Declaration of Independence, and having mastery of that before you're going to participate in the application, the domain of knowledge 2 or 3 kind of level, or the higher up Bloom's taxonomy kind of level things. I need to make sure that you know it. And then sort of the second level is, do you have mastery of that larger kind of level, that big kind of question? That's something we should also give. I believe we should give multiple opportunities as much as possible for showing that deeper kind of level of
Yeah,
understanding.
yeah. So it's not necessarily, just to make sure that the audience is clear, it's not necessarily running a flip mastery class. It's more of how to flip with mastery in mind with humanities as the subject.
Yes, I mean, I think I know I'm using a lot of the concepts and the strategies of a flipped mastery
Sure,
model.
sure.
But I think it's sort of hybridized. And again, I think in the humanities, it's going to look a bit different because, again, I mean, in a lot of science classes, you can show the understanding in the experiment. We don't get to because the history happened in the past.
Well, your experiment is just in a different form. You know, your experiment is not getting, like I tell my chemistry kids, for those who don't know, I'm a high school chemistry teacher. But, like we do by doing the lab, but we also do by writing about it and talking about it and doing the things that we would do in kind of the traditional non-lab classes. And so that's your lab is just that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think our equivalent in especially in history is often using is like the analyzing of primary sources is our lab, right? Is like you're looking at, but those primary sources don't mean much without the context.
Sure.
And that's what students need to have mastered before they can, we can talk about Paul Revere's engraving of the so-called Boston Massacre. But without the context, they're really only going to just get so far and not maybe get so much out of it as if they have that prior knowledge to be able to climb higher up that ladder.
Right. And so with all of this in mind, who's gonna come to your session? Who do you want, or who are you targeting, or are you targeting? Yeah, right. I mean, well, and that's the thing. I was talking to another presenter, and it seemed like the title lent itself to a real specific group. But the more you talk to people, especially in the flipping realm, if you've been flipping for 5 years, it kind of, you want to see what other people are doing in all disciplines so that you can then take it and apply it to what you're doing in the class. But I don't want to put words in your mouth because that may not be what you're trying to do. But so who's the target audience? Who's this designed for?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm certainly not going to get up and just stand up and talk to everyone for, hour, 15 minutes because that's not what we do anymore, right? I'm out of practice on that kind of thing now. I can't do what I used to be able to do.
Right. It takes so much energy.
Right. How do they do it?
How do those traditional teachers stand up and just talk for 45 minutes anymore?
My stamina is down to about 15 minutes now. It's like, okay, you guys got to be doing something.
Right.
So I think I'll probably have a lot of, maybe I can hold up for 20 something for this one-off thing. Right. And I think some of that does need to be that discussion of mastery. What does mastery need to look like at your level? I can speak to a lot of what it looks like for 8th grade U.S. history, social studies, and there may be a lot of overlap for other folks, but it may look, and it probably will look different in a literature-based ELA class or more of a grammar writing skills-based English class. And of course, sometimes you're doing one, sometimes you're doing the other from day to day or week to week or month to month, and also maybe between middle and high school. What are the kinds of levels of what would you be, or even to elementary as well. What is that going to look like? So that's part of what I want to do is really, again, share a lot of what I've done, but also have some opportunity for us to really grow. And I'd like to learn from the audience too. By humanities, I would define mostly like ELA and social studies, but again, STEM folks are certainly welcome too. But I know we have at least one art teacher.
Yeah.
So what does that look like in the so-called softer kind of disciplines, right? Like the soft science.
Yeah, I think that once you kind of get over the initial shock of flipping, I think that good teaching is still good teaching. So whatever you're doing in a flip classroom, you probably want to be doing in a traditional classroom. So.
Well, a lot of mastery involves the issue of retakes, and that's a lot of where my brain, is going, like driving, and I've tried a lot of different kinds of models. And again, maybe other folks have too, of sort of like the in-class show of mastery versus the offline. What are the pros and cons of each of those? People do the Ed puzzle type kind of things. I've done more of the in-class because I really want to make sure that they're the ones showing. But again, that should be open to conversation. And then how many chances do you give? What does the grading look like?
Right.
It can be a lot different. Grading. So there's a lot to this. Right.
Right. That sounds like a really good really good fodder for discussion, maybe even on the second day, because we're going to be doing like an unconference. We're going to do unconferences with workshops. People can choose what to do. So maybe, that leads to deeper discussions about grading in general, where people can get together and talk about that. Because, you want to get into a can of worms, we could talk about grading.
Well, we better go into that at some point.
Maybe not for this podcast, but we'll get into it, sure. And so you're talking about the people that are going to attend. You're saying that, hey, this is what I do. Here's what I'm trying to get across. Here's what mastery looks like. Those are the people that are going to come. But you're attending this conference. Not only are you presenting, but you're a participant, right? And so, you have your 1 hour slot. But, what do you hope to get out of being at this conference? What are the takeaways you hope to get?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that's just interesting is the timing of it, right? Because, again, we're racking up snow days here as we're talking right now in March here in Massachusetts. But all things going well, right? I will have had my last day a few days before, and a lot of times it's just about like, oh God, like thank God, just the year's over, and that's it. I'm really expecting this to be kind of sort of an energizer, sort of a springboard into my summer. Of like, okay, I had this year, I made it through this, which is actually going pretty decent year for me so far.
Oh, that's good.
I don't feel like I'm limping to the end. Right. We'll see how I feel in June. But I think it'd be great to like have this to look forward to for myself, frankly, like through the year, and then have that several weeks to really percolate over things. Figure like what kind of systems I'm going to shift up from things that I learned, what I'm going to double down on, right. And so forth. So that's really what I'm looking for from this, is just that real sort of like capstone to my school year. Almost beyond the school
like
year.
Reflective in your own practice sort of thing, like the best teachers are the reflective teacher, maybe.
Right. And then, having this without actually having specific students that I have, right? Sometimes like when you have these mid-year kind of workshops, you're like, oh, that's not going to work for Tommy, or that's not going to work for, certain other kids. But having that sort of blank slate, but then also being fresh enough to be able to think, well, would this have worked for Tommy, Ashley, or whatever? Like,
right.
I'm thinking of.
Well, can I ask you one surprise question?
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. So just for the audience, just so you know, I always email the questions to the participants beforehand just so they have an idea of what I'm going to ask. Then they have, I guess, the right to, first right of refusal. I don't, they say, well, I don't want to answer this. And so fortunately, we haven't come up across that. But I've been trying to throw in kind of a little curveball where people can't necessarily prepare the answer to the question, so it's a little more not that it's not authentic, but it's to get like the real like spur of the moment answer. So,
right.
So you've been flipping for a while now. 5 years is a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I were to give you 3 words to describe what your classroom looks like right now, maybe not right this moment, empty, no students. That's 3 words. But, like this year, March of 2018, what are the 3 words that you're going to use to describe your classroom? And if you want to say the 3 words and then describe why those are the 3 words.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to explain. The one word would be horseshoe. Horseshoe would be one word. Stuffed animals, but that's really like 2 words. So I guess like puppets or stuffies would be second one. See, it is.
These definitely are going to need explanations.
Third word. That's where I'm like going to have like a hard time. It's just like the embarrassing part. So definitely horseshoes, stuffies, and dang it. Wow. Dead air. That's absolutely not what you want. Hey, let me explain the other 2 first, and then I'll come around to the third.
Well, stuffed animals is 2 words.
Stuffed animals. All right.
Horseshoes
there we go.
And stuffed animals.
Nailed it. So here's the stuffed animals one. So a recent video that I just did for students, I used, I had a plush donkey and elephant that I'd found in my classroom, and I used them to demonstrate the difference between Democrats and Republicans. So I did a little puppet show for students. So my voice, I was off screen, and I had them talking. And so I give always 2 or 3 nights to do it. And this was one of those times where, like, on the first night, kids are like, oh my gosh, that was awesome. Like, how'd you do that? So actually just today, I let students, as their way to like sort of apply, I said, okay, we've done other ones. use the same style and make your own puppet show. And it was just awesome to watch these 13, 14-year-olds playing with stuffed animals.
Yeah, right.
I borrowed from my daughter.
Right.
That's
I'm
the kind of
too
thing we
cool
could do.
to play with stuffed animals now.
Oh no, there's like boys, big like
Well, that's what I'm saying is
football
that
player boys are like like having
Right.
like a bear and a pig talk to each other. It was fantastic. I could not stop laughing. And I like to think they were learning a little something too, or they were applying their learning.
Right.
The horseshoe. So we do horseshoe discussions. It's a form of sort of the Socratic seminar. Again, This is what you can come to class being able to do. I find the Socratic seminar somewhat claustrophobic. Maybe that's my own kind of thing. With like all the desks around the circle of desks. So it's a horseshoe, and then the other students are behind. So they can't see each other so well. They can observe, and then we do that for like 10 or 15 minutes, and then switch. So I have the other half of class that was the audience is now in the horseshoe. So those would be, there's my horseshoe, and stuffed animals would be what my classroom's looking like the past like few weeks. We're in a government unit. You gotta spice that up somehow.
Yeah. So Andrew, is there anything else you want to add, or do you have anything else you want to talk about, or do you have any questions for me, or what do you got?
Well, I wish you all the best with planning. I can't imagine like how much is going into setting up this conference on top of teaching and all. Being a person and having a family and everything else. So.
I will tell you that I was smart and I asked my wife to join me on the organization team, and so we are organizing this together, and so that always makes it worthwhile. That's
a veteran move.
Yeah.
Yeah. So leading up to the conference, I blog fairly often, and not as good at that as I was during the summer. And it's Flipping Awesome Teaching, all one word, flippingawesometeaching.com.
Flippingawesometeaching.com.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that you do or participate in? Twitter chats?
Yeah. You find me on the Twitter a lot. I also one of the co-moderators of SS Chat, hashtag SS Chat, the social studies chatting group with some other
Tuesdays
moderators. Oh, that's Mondays. Mondays at 7.
Mondays at 7. Oh, right before the Flip Class chats. Yeah.
And then right before Flip Class chat. Yep.
Right.
Sometimes I'm able to bleed in. Sometimes I've already done my hour away from the family.
Yeah, it's hard to do 2 hours of Twitter chats is tough right in a row. I guess that concludes our interview here. So this is Andrew Swan, who's going to be presenting at FlipTech East Coast 2018, and he's going to be presenting Flipping for Mastery in the Humanities. And so, Andrew, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you, David. Yeah, all the best. See you in June.
That's it for this episode of the FlipTech East Coast podcast. We hope that you join us at the conference. Again, for more information or to register, please visit fliptech.fliplearning.org. Again, that website is fliptech.fliplearning.org, and we can't wait to see you there.